All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive. Today we're looking at something a little different.
Oh,
Yeah, a sermon, actually. It was delivered in Mandarin Chinese,
okay.
and the topic, it's about, well, finding joy in pain.
That's interesting. I mean, it sounds a bit paradoxical, doesn't it? Joy and pain.
It does, yeah. And that's what intrigued me, honestly. And
Yeah.
it's not just like theoretical. The speaker really gets into it, especially with how it relates to the suffering of Jesus. They actually draw on Isaiah 53.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So to start off, this sermon uses a really, really striking image, this pain index.
The pain index.
Yeah, like a scale. It goes from laughter, which is 0 pain, all the way up to 10, like the most intense suffering imaginable.
Okay, I see.
And then, get this, the speaker starts giving all these examples of pain we've all felt, like
Right.
childbirth, headaches, stomach aches, even just a paper cut, everyday things.
Right.
So it makes you really think pain, it's universal. Everyone gets it in some form.
Yeah, for sure.
But then the speaker hits you with this huge question. Where does the pain of Jesus Christ fall on this scale?
Whoa, that's powerful.
It is. And that's where the sermon dives into Isaiah 53, verses 4 through 6.
Okay.
And these verses, they go deep into describing Jesus' suffering. I mean, the words they use, it's intense, like griefs, sorrows, stricken, smitten, afflicted.
It's heavy stuff.
It is, yeah. And the speaker really emphasizes how all this pain, it comes from humanity's sin.
Yeah, that's a tough one to wrap your head around, honestly. Like, are we responsible for his suffering?
Right. It's challenging, but the sermon doesn't just stop at the physical pain of the crucifixion, It goes deeper, saying that Jesus' emotional pain, that was even more profound.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you don't often hear people focus on that.
And to back it up, the speaker even brings in Isaiah 53.3. You know that part where it describes Jesus as despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief.
Right. It's easy to overlook those lines.
It is. But the speaker is saying this. The pain of being rejected, ignored by the people he was trying to save, that was the most unbearable for him.
Whoa. Yeah, just think about that for a second. To be completely misunderstood, even by those you love, to have your sacrifices ignored, like they don't even matter.
It makes you really reconsider, how we think about pain ourselves. Do we just focus on the physical stuff and miss the emotional toll?
That's a great point.
And then the sermon, it takes this even further, bringing in the story of Job.
Job, the guy who lost everything.
Exactly. And remember how his friends, they blamed him? Said he must have done something wrong to deserve all that suffering.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like they needed a simple explanation, even if it was totally off base.
Because sometimes we need a reason for pain, even if it means blaming the person hurting.
It's easier, right, than facing the fact that sometimes bad things just happen.
And the sermon, it argues that that's exactly how so many people misunderstand the suffering of Jesus. They oversimplify it, look for an easy answer, instead of grappling with the complexity.
That's something to think about.
It is, for sure.
So if they're not supposed to oversimplify it, what is the speaker saying?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, and it's what we'll dive into next time.
All right, looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's like we need someone to blame, It makes it easier to process, I guess.
Definitely. And this sermon, it doesn't shy away from that tough stuff, the pain, the suffering.
Okay.
But then, and this is what I thought was really fascinating, it brings in this idea of hope.
Hope? But we're talking about suffering here.
I know, right? It sounds crazy, but it goes even further. It talks about finding joy.
Joy. Okay, hold on. I'm lost. Help me out here.
All right, so the speaker is saying that because of Jesus' suffering, his willingness to go through all that, humanity is offered peace, healing.
Okay, I get that part, but joy.
It might seem like a stretch, but think about how we talk about holidays, like Easter, Christmas. Exactly. And that's what the speaker points out. Why do we automatically add happy to these events that are at their core about Jesus' suffering?
Oh, wow, yeah. It's like we're trying to ignore the hard parts, just jump to the celebrating.
Yeah, and the speaker suggests that by doing that, we might be missing the real point of it all.
So what is the real point, then? How do we get from suffering to joy?
Well, the speaker says that real joy, like the deep kind, it comes from understanding what Jesus went through, acknowledging that sacrifice.
Not pretending it didn't happen.
Right. It's not ignoring the pain, but seeing the love, the compassion behind it. That's what leads to joy.
It makes sense, kind of. Like, joy isn't about never feeling pain. It's about what comes after. what we learn.
It's about the whole experience, not just the good bits.
It's like that, what is it, kintsugi?
Kintsugi?
Yeah, the Japanese art where they fix broken pottery with gold. Like the cracks make it more beautiful, not less.
Oh, that's a great comparison. It's saying those scars, those struggles, they're part of what makes us whole.
You know, thinking back on this whole sermon, one thing that really stuck with me is how they managed to take such, like, complex stuff and make it understandable.
It's true. Their use of language, it's both deep and relatable, you know?
Yeah, like they took something that could have been really academic, dry, and made it, like, emotional. It makes you think.
And that's the power of a good story, a good metaphor. They make these big ideas come to life.
And it makes it personal, right? It's not just some historical event. It's about how it relates to all of us, how we experience pain, joy.
It's about the human condition, the whole messy thing.
So as we start wrapping up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with a question that's been bugging me.
Go for it.
What if, instead of always trying to avoid pain, we saw it as like an opportunity, growth? Like what if pain, even though it sucks, could make us stronger, better people?
Instead of running from it, what if we faced it head on?
Right. Like there's got to be something we can learn from it.
It's a totally different way of looking at things, but I think it could be powerful.
It's a little scary, honestly, but I think you're onto something. It's like, instead of always chasing happiness, maybe it's about accepting the whole experience, the good and the bad.
Maybe that's where real growth happens, where real joy comes from.
It's like maybe by trying to avoid pain, we're actually missing out on something.
Yeah, like a deeper kind of joy. One that's more, I don't know, resilient.
That's it. Like it's been tested, you know, and it comes out stronger on the other side.
It's not this fragile thing that breaks at the first sign of trouble.
This whole idea, it's really making me rethink how I see joy and pain too.
In a good way, I hope.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I used to think they were total opposites.
Black and white, no in between.
Exactly. But now I'm realizing it's more complicated than that.
It's like, what if instead of trying to keep everything separate, the good and the bad, we just accepted that it's all connected?
And maybe that's what the sermon was getting at, right? Like, it's all part of the same experience.
Yeah, the highs, the lows, it all shapes who we are.
I keep thinking back to that kintsugi thing.
The pottery.
Yeah. It's like those cracks, they don't ruin it, they make it unique, beautiful even.
And maybe we can be like that too. Like, our scars, our struggles, they're part of our story.
They make us who we are.
And they don't have to be something we hide, you know?
You know, one thing that really impressed me about this speaker was how they managed to talk about these, like, really deep ideas, but in a way that wasn't, like, preachy or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't over our heads.
It was, like, profound, but also down to earth. They used stories, metaphors, made it real.
That's the power of language, right?
Yeah.
To connect with people, make them feel something.
Yeah, it's not just about the words themselves, it's about the emotions behind them.
And this speaker, they really nailed that.
So, before we wrap up this whole deep dive, I want to leave everyone with one last question.
All right, hit me.
What if, and I know this might sound kind of crazy, but what if we stopped being so afraid of pain?
You're really going all in on this idea.
I am, yeah. Like, what if instead of running from it, we saw it as a chance to grow?
To learn something about ourselves.
To become stronger.
That's a big ask, I think. But maybe, just maybe, it's worth considering.
It's like instead of searching for constant happiness, we embrace the whole journey, even the tough parts.
The full human experience.
The good, the bad, and everything in between.
And with that, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.